So back on the 2009 Toyota Camry, paid $1,000 for this after selling my perfectly squared away Nissan Sentra, and well, it needs work. I mean, what do you expect? A car for $1,000 with 200,000 miles? You're gonna have to work on it. So in previous videos, and this is a project I'm recording in a series of videos, but we're dealing with a misfire issue, which we determined it was a coil pack, some coolant issues, and there'll be separate videos for that. But now we're moving on to some service items, as I am currently awaiting for parts from the Rock Auto. Now, the transmission fluid. It's a very controversial topic. Some people say if you have high mileage, don't change it, leave it alone. Some people say it's like non-serviceable. I say this: nothing lasts forever and definitely needs to be changed. Now, the controversy comes when people say, well, if it's never been changed, leave it alone. I tell you this: number one, this vehicle runs and drives perfect. Transmission ships smooth. There's no issues on that. But also, and this is what's very important, anytime you buy a used vehicle, the Carfax. The Carfax shows that the transmission was serviced at 60 and 150,000 miles. Now, with 206,000 miles, I'm feeling very comfortable to service it, as it's been serviced already. And this is more for my peace of mind, and probably the next time I'll ever have to service this might be 260,000 miles. Who's to say I still have this car by then? But as this is going to be my daily driver, I'm going to go ahead and do it. So let's get underneath. Now, the transmission pan is not as simple to get to as most vehicles. Number one, you got this engine cradle. It's in the way, you know. That's a thing. And then we also have this plastic shield, which I do need to take off because I'm actually working on some other stuff. But they do give you a drain plug, so they want you to change it. They just maybe don't want you to change the filter, or don't make it easy. But either way, this is coming out. We're here. Let's do it. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm actually going to drain the pan, which is going to make it a lot easier once we drop it down. So that's number one. And then once we're done with that, we'll go ahead, we'll loosen this bolt on this transmission mount right over here, and we'll see that just a little bit later. We'll be able to jack this thing up, and then we'll have clearance to get the transmission pan out. So let's start with draining this. I think it's a 10. Yep, it is definitely a 10. And we're gonna want to go ahead and just get this in, just like so, and loosen it. Now you can tell this thing has been changed in the fact that if it's never been changed, these things are like a pain to come off. But this has been dealt with, and that's good. We are going to do this all over the place because, well, you know, it's still messy. And this fluid, as you can see, well, maybe not see, is pretty dirty. So we definitely need to address it. So I'm going to let that drain for a while, and when we come back, we'll go ahead and we'll start jacking everything up. So now that that has finished draining, let's go ahead and wipe it up and put the plug back in. We don't need to have it out for any other reason, and it's one of those things that if you forget about it, it'll bite you in the butt later. There's a washer that goes on here. Probably a good idea to change it, which I already did. I keep extras because, well, I have other Toyota vehicles, a Highlander, a Tundra, and I guess that size is just common. So now we got to deal with getting the pan out. So like I said earlier, there's these bolts which you really can't get to. So the only way to do it is to loosen, it's right over here, the transmission motor mount. Just take out the bolt that's holding it. Just take out the nut that's holding it, and then we'll jack it up from right over there using a wood block, and that will give us the clearance to get this and slide this out. Some people have said they've used special wrenches and everything. I tried it on the Highlander. Maybe it's different on this one. Not as easy. This is easier. And this is the mount, which I think it's a what is that, 17? Yeah, it is a 17. Now, if you don't live in the Rust Belt, that should come off easy. Yeah, nice and easy. We're gonna jack it up. Now, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's 3. I think it's this one, and that one right there. So, oopsie on my part. And they're also 18. And they're also relatively easy to come out. I was wondering why this thing wasn't moving. There we go. And that should give us enough clearance to get in there with a 1/4" extension and a 10mm. So let's get started. All right, so now we got this jacked up. It is supported. I do have a piece of wood wedged on the frame going across the transmission, so we're good. So now one of the most pain in the butt bolts is one over here, but the way I do it is this. There's one bolt that you just cannot get. I mean, I'm sure there's another way to do it, but I just use a 1/4" with a 10, slide it in just like so, and go to town. Just little by little. And these bolts are tight. Now, by doing it this way, if you notice my hands over here, even if something was to happen, my hands are not in the pinching zone. So I'm just lightly doing it this way. This thing's got Loctite on them. The other one, which is right over here, that one is quite difficult to get to as well. Man, that was tough. So now the filter, 3 bolts, 10mm. And of course, well, it's out. Let's take a look at this pan. And I'll be honest, this doesn't look as bad as it looks. To get what I'm going. Yes, the fluid is dark, but I mean, that's it. Just sludge. And I have no glitter. So that's awesome. This was definitely needed to be done. And like I talked about earlier, this was serviced at 60 and 150,000 miles, according to the Carfax. So I feel comfortable servicing it. Honestly, if it had 200,000 miles and was never serviced, I probably would do it too. I've never had an issue, knock on wood. just take this gasket out. We're just gonna wipe this all up, just like so. So this is mostly clean. I'm just probably gonna take some brake part cleaner, just get off the little rest, and then we'll get this ready to go back on the car. All right, everything looks good. Make sure we get the gasket out of here. Okay. Just spray this down. Get the surface nice and clean, which this one should be easy because looks like it had that rubber gasket. Now to clean up the surfaces, a little Scotch pad. This is just to get off any little burrs or anything that might interfere with our gasket. It feels good, nice and smooth. So just give it one quick wash. Just put a little dab of oil on our filter. This is a Wix filter. I will put the part number up on the screen or in the comment box, just depending what I remember. So I'm gonna put some fluid in for now, primarily because in case I forget, at least there's something in there. I'm going with the Valvoline full synthetic max life. It has that WS standard. I've been using this for years on my Tundra, another Camry that I have, and even the Highlander, and I've never had an issue. And I think on my Tundra I've put 40,000 miles, no issues. The Camry probably 20,000. My Highlander probably has 15,000. Like I said, I've had no issues. This works. So 3 quarts for now, and then when I fire it up, we'll check it. Just want to make sure I don't overfill it. So I'm gonna leave it like that for now. I got 2.5 quarts in it. At least when I start it, it's not gonna run completely dry. Obviously, we're gonna have to top it off, check it, and just add a little. I'd rather have less than more and then overfill it. But for now, we should be good. I'm doing a whole bunch of other work, valve cover, had a misfire, water pump, so a whole bunch of other stuff is going on, and there'll be separate videos for that. And then when we finish getting all this stuff together, we'll go for a test drive and see how well the transmission shifts or don't shift. I'm very confident that it will shift with no issue. I've done this before. This thing has been serviced, so it's good preventative maintenance. And one thing I've noticed with the Toyota WS fluid, usually as soon as you put it in there, within a couple of 100 miles, it gets dark. So if your Toyota fluid is dark, don't panic. Now, if it smells burnt and has glitter, you might be concerned, but WS fluid, for some reason, gets dirty real easy. So I was going through the footage and I realized I missed a few things that we didn't get to record. So as far as doing this job, there's something that you're gonna have to do. I know I talked about doing the motor mount on the transmission side. Well, that's not gonna give you enough clearance. You're gonna have to loosen the motor mount on the front. It is 2 bolts, and you probably saw it in some of the footage of me loosening the front motor mount. Loosen that one, loosen that, and that's gonna allow you to lift the transmission high enough so you could get in there and take out the bolts. The bolts that are closest to the subframe are a pain in the butt, but if you have this thing lifted up and secure, you should be fine. So keep that in mind if you're going to do this job. Now, another thing to note, the drain and fill process, you could just drain and fill it, but at this point, because it does have one of those micro filters, or not a screen, but it has more of a filter actually, it's recommended to actually change it. The filter screen didn't look bad, it looked pretty good. I didn't see no metal in the pan, so I'm very happy and comfortable with it. But if you're gonna go this far, go the extra mile if you're comfortable with it and change the filter. If not, a drain and fill should be fine. So I'm gonna keep moving forward with this video. Thanks for watching. Hope it helps, and hopefully I should get this thing done pretty soon.